she asked me one of the most offensive questions you can ask a person of color in the United States of America.
That moment going social across the country.
There's a lot that I've gone through to be here.
Her crowning glory triggered something unexpected.
You're the first military woman and Miss USA.
You know, Commander, you're looking really hot today.
I'm somebody that has had some serious battles in their life. There are moments where you really do have to prove yourself. I was in a very militant household.
She joined the military at 17.
I never wanted to compete in pageants. I noticed that there was a lady across the way staring me down. I thought she had a few screws loose. She eventually makes her way closer and closer. She just wanted to do a little bit of explaining. I was immediately offended.
The two women were perfect strangers.
I just was crying. This woman was very persistent. I'm like having an anxiety attack, like my knees gave out. She somehow convinced me to meet her at Starbucks the very next day. And she tells me something that changed my life forever. I was working a summer position at Target. During this shift, my life changed forever. A woman stared at me from across the way. I thought she had a few screws loose, so I tried my best to ignore her very intense stares. She eventually makes her way over to me and asks me the most offensive question you can ask a person of color. "Were you born in this country?" And I was immediately offended. And I said, "Yeah, I was born in this country." And then she says, "Do you have any kids?" I said, "No, I don't have any kids." She then asked me if I was married, and then I said, "No, ma'am, I am not married." She says, "How old are you?" I said, 19. "May I help you find something?" And she then goes on to say something that changed my life forever. She says, "You look like you could be the next Miss USA." To my disbelief, she was actually a pageant recruiter. And the reason why she was asking those questions is because she was curious about the qualifications that I had when it came to competing for Miss USA. And I laughed at her hysterically at the thought. I was like, "Listen, lady, this is my second year at Virginia State University. I'm in the ROTC program, which means that in 2 years, I'll be commissioning as an officer in the United States military, and I have all intention on going active duty. I'm not a pageant girl." And she says, "You know what, please, please, please meet me at Starbucks tomorrow. I would love to just sit down and talk to you about it." And I must have been a pretty open-minded 19-year-old because I actually met this crazy lady at Starbucks the next day. She shows up with this foot-tall stack of pageant books and somehow convinces me to enter into my very first pageant, which I did 3 months later. Just a few months after the Target conversation, we went to a dress shop, and it was probably only maybe my second time picking out a dress in my life. And I remember going through all these pretty gowns, feeling like I looked bony. I remember putting the dress on and coming out, and it was her. I don't like the way that I look. I don't like the way that I look right now at all. In high school and in middle school, but mostly in high school, I was heavily bullied. I had this one bully. She'd be the person that I would do everything that I could to avoid, because in the hallways, she would bully me ruthlessly. She would say, you know, skinny, you know, orangutan because my arms are long. She would just say, "Wow, look at how big your feet are." And I would honestly say she's probably one of the bigger contributors to why my self-esteem growing up was very low. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror as I'm like having an anxiety attack. Leslie, she walked up to me and rubbed my back, and she said, "You know, when I saw you in Target, I saw something in you, and I see you glowing right now. I think you look amazing, and I think you could easily win this competition, and I think you can easily win Miss USA. You just have to believe in yourself, because if not you, then who?" So 3 months later, I compete in my first pageant, and I lose. I go back the second year, compete in the state pageant. I lose. Go back the third year, compete in the state pageant, and lose. Go back the fourth year, compete in the same pageant, and lose. I go back the fifth year, y'all, compete in the state pageant and lose. But guess what? I go back the sixth year. Guess what happens? I lose. It was actually my dad. My dad that told me, you have to stop this. It's not that I don't think that you can, I just don't know if they will give you this crown. I was prepared to quit. I called that woman on the phone and said, you told me I could be the next Miss USA. I've been at this for 6 years and this is failing epically. She says, Deshauna, keep trying. Keep trying, I have a good feeling. I said, your good feeling is garbage. I've been at this a long time. She says, keep going. I said, okay. And I was gonna message her, telling her that I had a pageant in 2 months and that I wanted her to come, that I was competing for Miss DC USA. And when I went to her page on Facebook, there were just all these RIPs going up and down her timeline. And all the RIPs were from like 3 or 4 months prior, so I never got to say goodbye. And I didn't get to go to her funeral or anything like that. I didn't know any of her friends. When she passed away, no one told me because no one knew that we were friends. And I just felt really bad. With Leslie, she was battling leukemia for about 2 or 3 years. I would message her and send her the dates for my pageant and say, hey, you know, I would love for you to come out. And she'd say, I'm so sorry, I can't make it. I just always assumed she was gonna be okay. It was very tough competing that December. And I spent that entire 2 weeks remembering Leslie. I wanted to prove her right, that what she saw and who she saw on Target was actually someone that could be Miss USA. When the competition happened, I called my mom. She said, I'm watching you, Leslie's watching you, everybody's watching you. I had an immediate anxiety attack. I was crying. And I just said, I don't want to go out there. I'm terrified because you could hear the people, thousands of people. It's the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas and it's huge. I remember just looking at myself in the mirror and saying, if not you, then who? I looked around and I just saw all these amazing women that are more than capable of being Miss USA. I just kept telling myself, if not you, then who? If not you, then who? And then it got down to myself and Miss Hawaii USA. We held hands and I said, thank you, God, for first runner-up. This has just been such an awesome experience because I just knew I was gonna lose against her.
District of Columbia!
And I was shocked. And I remember looking out into the stands and seeing so many people jumping for joy, including my friends, you know, my family members that came. I wish it could have been Leslie sitting in the stands. But I could feel that in my spirit. I could feel something saying, I told you so. And I think it was her saying to me, like shining down from the heavens, you see, I told you, you could be the next Miss USA. Life wouldn't have been the same, and I'm thankful that I was working in women's department and that she decided to come to Target that day, because I just don't think I would have known how capable I am if it had not been for her. I appreciated that she was able to be that for me. I continue to carry that quote, if not me, then who, through life. At times, our purpose drops in our laps as if the heavens threw it by accident. Do not fear failure, but please be terrified of regret. As giving up is the birth of regret. You will have 100 moments that will be filled with someone telling you no. The reality of life is that we will all hear more no's than we hear yeses. And we will fail a lot, and I mean a whole lot. But what I ask of you today is to not take no for an answer. Don't be afraid of no's. Be afraid of the possibility of a yes that you have prematurely destroyed because you decided to quit before the clock strikes 12.